Okay, speak. Okay, go Bobbie.
Well, Christopher, I was able to see the movie last night, and I have to be honest with you now and tell you that as a kid growing up, I was never into the Tarzan thing. I was more the Bambi Lassie type. But my brothers were big into Tarzan. But I sat there last night, Christopher, I have to tell you, and I was totally immersed and mesmerized with this film. So I hope that bodes well for the success of the picture.
I hope too. I couldn't say I don't hope then, but
because you have everything, excuse me, everything to gain or to lose. But now, also while I was sitting there watching the film, much of which was filmed in West Africa, I've always said that I marvel that any film ever gets finished. I've been on lots of locations, lots of sets. But looking at your picture, I just can't believe what you people must have gone through to do that. Was there ever a time, Christopher, when you said to yourself, what in the world am I doing here?
Not when I was in Cameroon. I asked myself what I was doing here the first time I was facing, when we started training, when we started chimping, to learn the chimp behavior. When I was facing another human being going hoo-hoo, and you think, but how am I going to do it? How am I going to forget about myself and just be an animal? And the first months I couldn't believe it. That was probably the most difficult side of it, is to forget about yourself and just be an animal. And
what was that gave you any confidence at all in doing that, Christopher?
Confident in what way?
In doing the animal behavior. Who gave you confidence, or what kept you going?
Just because, we were about 15 people doing the same thing, but they were, in some ways, they were a bit more trained than me because they were gymnasts and, people a bit used to not restrain themselves. And but after a month, we were on the same kind of level, and everybody was very nice with me. And it's just because you start thinking, if I suddenly chimp, people are going to laugh at me. But as we were doing the same thing, nobody was laughing. And after a month, a couple of months, we were chimps. And we weren't speaking English anymore. We're just speaking chimp. And it was, I don't know, it was strange.
Another thing now that is interesting to me as I listen to you is that you do have a French accent because you are born of French parents, brought up in Switzerland, so of course you speak English with a French accent. But in the movie, we hear none of the French accent.
That was a big part of the training. That was very important for Hugh Hudson, that this guy could cope with the English language, and that he can speak French, he can speak English with a French accent at the beginning because the explorer is Belgian. But then as soon as he is in Scotland, he can cope with the English accent because he's got a good ear. And that was very important for Hugh, and we trained about a couple of hours every day on the English intonation, just that I would be able to cope with it.
And then once the movie was over, you went back to your French accent.
I went back to, yeah. It was a kind of relief because the English accent is very difficult. Just the intonation is difficult. I don't know, it's difficult to say that I don't like the sound. It's just I probably don't like it because it's difficult to cope with.
Yes, you're more comfortable this way. Anyway, this is charming. Don't change it. Tell me, Christopher, when you had to be in West Africa, what are some of the physical hardships you endured?
It wasn't really physical. It was mentally. It was very difficult. I would say that it was probably much more difficult physically for all the crew, for all the guys who were working in the jungle and not used to it. The jungle, what I felt about the jungle, it was a kind of oppression, a danger, something very dangerous that you can't see. And then mentally it was harder for me than physically.
But were there any problems with snakes and bugs and all the critters of the jungle?
Yeah, bugs, mainly bugs. We saw a snake once, but then you start thinking, my God, I must be surrounded by snakes. But as long as you don't see the animal, it's okay. It's when you start seeing them, then you... And about the bugs, it's, when you're bitten, you start thinking, is it a good bug or a bad bug, or am I going to die, or is it but I mean, we had no accident. We're very lucky in that way.
I can't believe it. No accidents?
Nothing, no, nothing. Just blisters and little things, but...
People, though, getting ill, some?
Yeah, some of them. I mean, some people were eating raw meat in the middle of Cameroon. I mean, then, of course, they were very sick. But, I mean, as long as you stick to steaks, and that's okay.
And what about the people who had to wear the chimp suits in the
That was
heat?
physically terrible for them. Because, I mean, the suit was quite heavy. They had, heads. And, yeah, we couldn't shoot more than 5 minutes each time. And they had to rest about 10 or 15 minutes between each takes. Because it must have been very difficult for them.
Did you have to do any of your own stunts, swinging around on the vines and that?
Yeah, well, that was part of the training during the 6 months training, to know how to swing. And it was the last couple of days of shooting that, in case of accident, everything was in the box. And then that was...
Christopher, as this role now is quite likely going to, make you an international star. And what thoughts do you have now about that, and how that's going to change your life?
I didn't really think about it, but if I had one thing I would like to keep, I mean, one dream I would like to keep, is to try to remain normal, and to try to cope with it in a humble way. Like, I mean, I don't feel I'm doing a job apart of the others. I just have the luck to do what I love to do. And as I feel really lucky about it, I want to be respectful in front of that. But we'll see. It's easy to say when you haven't reached it.
Well, Christopher, let's hope the picture does really well, and I'm sure that it's going to be good for you. And I thank you very much for giving of your time to come here and talk with us today. And come to Texas to see us, will you?
I'll really hope to come to Dallas, because I've got some friends I want to see in Dallas.
Very good. See you there.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, Christopher.
Bye-bye.
Put it on pause, please. And action.
Christopher, was there ever a time when you were making this movie in West Africa that you said to yourself, what in the world am I doing here? What was the most difficult part of this whole thing for you? Now, it's just extraordinary. You, of course, speak English with a French accent, but in the movie, we hear none of the French accent. But then, when the movie was finished, you go right back to your French accent, huh? What physically was the most difficult part of shooting in Africa? Were there any accidents? Did anyone get sick? Did you have to do some of your own stunts? Let me see. I think there was something else.
All about a star, international star.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. That was the other one. Okay.
Okay, Bob.
Christopher, more than likely now you're going to become an international star. What are your thoughts about that? That should do it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.